How to find your people without feeling awkward. Have you ever found yourself sitting at a gathering, smiling politely, nodding along, but feeling like you're not really there? You're in the room, but not quite in the moment. Maybe the conversation drifts to things you don't care much about, or maybe, deep down, you wonder if these are really your people. That quiet voice in your chest whispers, "I don't belong here." And that's hard. Especially as we get older. Our circles shift. Friends move away, pass on, or grow apart. We retire from work, kids grow up, and all of a sudden, the steady rhythm of familiar faces starts to fade. That's when it hits you, how do I find people who actually get me? People who make you laugh until you cry. People who ask how you're doing and really mean it. People who make you feel like home. But here's the tricky part. Even when we crave connection, the idea of starting over, of putting yourself out there again, can feel awkward. Nobody wants to feel like the new kid in school all over again. We think, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I look desperate? What if no one really wants to talk to someone my age? Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Almost everyone, yes, even the confident, chatty ones, feels this way at some point. That little twinge of awkwardness, that fear of rejection, that voice that says, maybe I'm better off staying home, it's more common than you think. But it doesn't have to win. Because finding your people isn't about becoming someone new or pushing yourself into places where you don't belong. It's about leaning into who you already are and opening the door just wide enough to let others in. So, how do you do that? How do you find connection without feeling awkward, fake, or drained? It starts with one powerful shift. Stop searching for a crowd. Start noticing kindred spirits. See, we've been conditioned to think that we need a big group or a best friend to feel fulfilled. But meaningful connection doesn't always come in groups of 10 or 20. Sometimes, it begins with one person you say hello to in the garden. One neighbor you finally invite in for tea. One face that keeps showing up at the library, or the walking path, or the farmer's market. Your people aren't hiding, they're just scattered, like puzzle pieces, waiting for someone to reach out. Here's something simple to try. Next time you're in a familiar space, a community center, a park, a waiting room, practice the art of noticing. Not judging, not analyzing, just observing. Who looks open? Who makes eye contact? Who's sitting alone but looks like they'd appreciate a hello? Most connections don't start with grand conversations. They start with small acts of noticing. You might be surprised how often someone's waiting for you to make the first move. Not because they're unfriendly, but because they're shy. Or uncertain. Or carrying the same fear you are. Will anyone talk to me? The moment you offer warmth, just a smile, a question, a shared comment about the weather or the coffee, something shifts. A bridge begins to build. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What if I try, and it goes nowhere? That's fair. But here's the secret, connection is not about instant friendship. It's about planting seeds. Some won't grow. Some might surprise you and blossom in ways you never expected. But none of them will sprout if you don't reach out in the first place. Let me tell you a story. A woman named Ellen, who's 72, once shared that she spent nearly a year eating lunch at the same cafe every Tuesday. Always alone. One day, she noticed another woman, about her age, doing the same thing, sitting by the window, sipping tea, reading a book. Week after week, they were there, never speaking. Until one day, Ellen simply said, "I always notice your book choices. They're better than mine. Got any recommendations?" And just like that, a friendship began. That woman is now her closest friend. All it took was one sentence. We often assume that people already have enough friends, or that we're intruding. But in truth, most of us are starving for real connection, and deeply grateful when someone else takes the lead. Here's another gentle tip. Instead of thinking, how do I make friends? Try asking, how can I show up with curiosity? Curiosity is the bridge between strangers and soulmates. When you approach someone with genuine interest, without an agenda, without needing to impress, you create space for honesty. And honesty is where connection thrives. One of the biggest fears we carry, especially as we age, is the fear of looking foolish. But awkwardness is not a sign that you're doing it wrong. It's a sign that you're doing something brave. You're choosing openness over comfort, courage over isolation. And that is something to be proud of. So the next time you feel that awkward flutter in your chest, the one that says, "I don't know what to say," just take a breath and remind yourself, you don't need to have the perfect words. You just need to be present, kind, and willing to reach across the invisible wall we all carry sometimes. You never know who's on the other side, hoping someone like you shows up. One of the most beautiful things about getting older is that you've lived enough life to know what matters and what doesn't. You've seen people come and go, tried things that worked and things that didn't. And somewhere along the way, you realize that small talk can be exhausting, but real talk? That's where the heart is. So let's talk about showing up in a way that invites real connection. Because the truth is, finding your people isn't about being liked by everyone. It's about being seen by the right ones. And that starts with dropping the mask. You know the one I mean. The polite version of you. The version that says, "I'm fine," even when you're not. The version that nods along in conversations that don't feed your soul, just to avoid conflict. We've all worn that mask. Sometimes it's needed. But when we keep it on too long, we end up feeling invisible, even when we're surrounded by others. So instead, try this: let people see a little more of the real you. You don't have to spill your life story. Just allow a little honesty to slip in. If you're at a gathering and someone asks how you are, instead of saying good, try something like, "Honestly, it's been a weird week. But I'm glad to be here." That tiny moment of honesty does something magical. It gives the other person permission to be real too. And that's the beginning of intimacy. Not the grand, movie-style version, but the everyday, grounded, me too kind of intimacy that builds real friendships. Now let's talk about environments. Because where you are often shapes who you connect with. If you're constantly placing yourself in spaces where you feel out of place or pressured to pretend, connection will always feel like a struggle. But when you find environments that reflect your values, your passions, your energy, it becomes easier. Effortless, even. Maybe it's a book club, a walking group, or a local community garden. Maybe it's a cooking class, a pottery circle, or a place of worship. It doesn't have to be a big commitment. Just somewhere you can show up, be yourself, and meet others doing the same. A man named Harold, who's 68, told me that he always thought he was just not a people person. He avoided events, skipped church socials, and figured his window for connection had passed. But then, on a whim, he signed up for a community woodworking class. "I thought I'd go once, just to say I tried," he said. But now, 2 years later, it's his favorite part of the week. "We don't talk about deep stuff," he told me, "but we show up, we build things together, we laugh." And over time, that created a kind of quiet trust. That's the thing about shared spaces. They create rhythm. And rhythm creates comfort. And comfort opens the door for connection. It's also okay to admit when a space isn't for you. Sometimes we try something new and it just doesn't fit. That's not a failure. That's clarity. You learned something about yourself. And now you can try again, better equipped. Finding your people is a journey, not a one-time event. Another key is to release the pressure to be perfect. You don't have to be witty, stylish, endlessly interesting, or always upbeat to be loved. You just have to be you. Sometimes the most powerful way to connect is by showing a little vulnerability. Saying things like, "I've been feeling a little lonely lately," or "I'm nervous to join this group, but I thought I'd give it a try." You'd be surprised how often others respond with kindness, because they feel the same way. We live in a world that often glorifies youth, speed, and constant busyness. But there is something deeply valuable about the presence of someone who has lived. Someone who has patience, wisdom, and a quieter kind of strength. Don't underestimate the gift you bring just by showing up as your full self. And if you ever feel discouraged, like you're trying and not seeing results, remember this: sometimes connection takes time. It builds in small moments. A shared laugh. A remembered name. A warm goodbye. These tiny moments accumulate. They turn strangers into acquaintances. Acquaintances into friends. Friends into your people. There's a quiet courage in being the one who shows up again. The one who keeps the door open, even when it feels easier to close it. And the truth is, people remember that. They may not say it out loud, but your presence matters more than you think. So keep reaching out. Keep showing up. Keep listening, noticing, and letting yourself be seen. Because somewhere, in your community, in your neighborhood, in your city, there are people who are waiting to meet someone just like you. They just haven't had the chance yet. Sometimes we think the window has closed. That the season for deep friendships, for laughter that makes your belly ache, for spontaneous conversations that stretch into the night, is over. We tell ourselves things like, "I've missed my chance," or "people already have their own circles." But let me remind you, the heart doesn't retire. Your need for connection doesn't expire. And the universe has a funny way of sending you the right people, often when you least expect it. You might meet them in the line at the pharmacy. Or sitting next to you at a community play. Or maybe they've been living 2 blocks away all this time, waiting for someone to say, "Hey, I'm Phyllis. I just moved here. What brings you out today?" These aren't just nice moments. They're open doors. They're the beginnings of something that could blossom if you let it. But connection isn't just about what happens out there. It's also about what happens in here, inside you. If you're walking around carrying the belief that you're not interesting enough, or lovable enough, or that people won't want you around, that belief becomes a filter. It clouds every interaction. It makes you shrink a little, hold back a little, expect less. And the world responds to that energy. But what if you tried something different? What if you walked into each room with the quiet confidence that you belong there, just as you are? Not because you're the loudest or the funniest or the most charming, but because you are human. With a heart that feels, stories worth sharing, and a presence that matters. Because here's the truth, finding your people doesn't mean convincing anyone to like you. It means being so completely yourself that the right people find you. That might sound simple, but I know it's not always easy. Especially when the past has left scars. Maybe you've been hurt before. Maybe someone close drifted away, and the silence still echoes. Maybe you trusted someone who didn't show up the way you hoped. That pain can make us cautious. And that's okay. You're allowed to be tender. But you're also allowed to try again. Think of your heart like a house with many rooms. Some doors have been closed for a long time. But you still hold the keys. You can open them, just a crack, and let in the possibility of something new. A new friendship. A shared story. A cup of tea and a conversation that warms your soul. And let's not forget, it's never too late to be someone else's people. While you're looking for connection, someone else is too. Someone lonely. Someone grieving. Someone hopeful. Someone who just needs a kind face, a gentle voice, a person to sit beside them and say, "I see you." You can be that person. You don't need to host big parties or have all the answers. You just need to show up. To listen. To care. That's more than enough. In fact, that's the kind of presence this world is hungry for. If you're still not sure where to start, begin small. Say hello a little more often. Linger a few extra minutes after your walking group or church service. Ask someone how their day is, and really listen. Let your smile be the invitation. Let your presence be the open door. And let your story be something you're no longer afraid to share, one gentle chapter at a time. You are not invisible. You are not too old. You are not too late. The part of you that longs for connection is sacred, and it deserves to be honored. And if you've made it this far in the video, I want you to know something: you're already doing the brave thing. You're choosing growth. You're choosing hope. You're choosing to believe that beautiful connection is still possible. And I believe that too, with my whole heart. So keep going. Keep reaching. Keep softening your edges and strengthening your heart. The world still needs your voice, your presence, your kindness. And if this video resonated with you, I invite you to share your story in the comments. Tell us about a moment when someone made you feel seen. Or a time you opened up and something wonderful happened. Your words might be the encouragement someone else needs today. And if you found value here, consider giving the video a like. It helps others find this message too. Subscribe to the channel for more videos that nourish your heart and spirit. Here's to living connected. Here's to finding your people. And here's to remembering you are never too old to love, to be loved, and to begin again. Take good care of yourself. I'll see you soon.